children. Hello, love. This is also my Spelman sister. How are you, beautiful?
I'm
Welcome
good.
to Tutoring.
How are
Are
you?
you?
Number
Good.
one, I'm just so excited. Like, this conversation has just sparked so many emotions. Earlier today, actually, let me introduce myself. So, my name is Kalia Murray. As Cameron stated, I'm an alumna of Spelman College as well. I graduated in 2015 with a Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science, and I went on to pursue my master's. I got a Master's of Arts in Teaching from the Relay Graduate School of Education. So this is just completed my 5th year as an educator. I've taught pre-K for 3 years. In the past 2, I've been teaching kindergarten, and this upcoming year, I'm actually going to be an interventionist working with small groups because our babies are definitely going to need it due to all the gaps that we have missed due to virtual learning, and just reflecting on all the things that the other speakers were saying. I first just kind of wanted to speak to Jaden's point about the representation of Black male teachers. I've worked at 3 schools in my 5 years of teaching, and at each school that I've worked at, there's always been 5 or less male and maybe 3 of them being Black. So the importance of Black male teachers is just so prevalent in our schools because our babies definitely need them. Just thinking of this past year, I had a really good friend who was on my kindergarten team with me, and just seeing the joy that he brought to the students' lives and just how they responded to him was just amazing. So Jaden, thank you for bringing your voice to this conversation and speaking about that, because that is definitely in the forefront of this education world that we need. Just thinking about my own childhood, I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, a place that is very diverse. I had Asian teachers, Black teachers, white, Hispanic, all across the board, but the strong Black teachers that I had is really what stood out to me, resonated with me. Even now, I can think of 3 of them that I keep in contact with now, and just thinking about the importance and pivotal role that they have really played in my life. So for anyone there who's maybe looking to get into education or just maybe pursuing other avenues in education, like, research the schools that you are looking into. Like, look at their board, like, see who of color is on their board, see who's on their leadership team, because they are the ones that are ultimately going to be making the decisions that are impacting our children. I can honestly say that the school that I currently work at now is the first school that has had an all-Black leadership team, and it's really big, like, for the students, for the community. My principal actually reached out to us in the wake of just everything that's going on right now, and just giving us time. She opened up her Zoom meeting, like, if anyone just wants a space to kind of like do a brain dump, reflect on what's happening, and that sort of caused her to implement a racial justice cohort that I'm going to be a part of. That we actually had our first session today, and just speaking with other leaders and teachers in my school, teachers that were Black, teachers that were white, but just coming together to see what are we going to do when we go back to school? Like, how are we going to help babies heal? Like, they've been in a pandemic. They've seen murders on TV. They've seen protesting. Like, they need, similar to what Sonia was saying, but they need a safe space for them to talk about all these things that are going on, how they're feeling, how they feel themselves represented in this society. It's going to be some deep stuff going on for sure.
Sure.
Just thinking also about, I know you spoke about community helpers. That is definitely a unit, early childhood, that is probably the first unit in all school curriculums. And yeah, how are you going to explain police officers? There are some police officers that are one way, they're not. How are you going to bridge that together? When you do have community helpers, have people from your community that look like your children actually come into your classroom setting, telling them about what's going on. Just thinking about career day as well, like opening it up to the community as a whole, like maybe not just someone from your school may know. You know, post it somewhere, like advocate to have different genres of people come in and showing that you can be anything you want to be.
And I think one thing that I want for us to talk about is, you know, like you were saying, you grew up in a really diverse setting, and as did I, but even still, the literature that I saw in the schools, the content that was given to me was not centered around an inclusive sort of thing, whether that be representing Black people, representing the LGBTQIA community. What are some things that you are interested in doing that your school is doing as far as creating a curriculum that is inclusive for folks?
Got it. Absolutely. Actually, I was just home this past weekend, and I was just talking to my parents about what was going on. I said, you know, like, when was the first time you guys talked with me about race, like, or just thinking about Black history things as a child? Like, the only thing that I vividly remember, if it wasn't Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, like, it wasn't touched on. So I personally, in my classroom and just in school communities that I have worked in, just thinking kind of outside the box, like teaching children about other pivotal people in African American history besides Black History Month. Like, there may be time that you have, oh yes, I love that book, love the series, but you may be having a wiggle break. Instead of putting on Go Noodle, you know, teach them about an African American that they may not have heard of. Just introducing them to things in different times of the day. You might have, you know, cultural heritage, bringing in different foods, like exposing them to different things that they may not have experienced before and that they may not experience if they don't learn it from you. So just kind of making them feel comfortable, making them want to be invested in the learning. I know Sonia talked about, and your cousin also, just about the creativity, like just thinking of ways outside the box. I'm actually tutoring a student starting next week. He lives in Virginia, and his mom told me that he doesn't have any Black teachers. So I'm just a virtual tutor, but I'm going to be his only representation of a Black teacher that he's had. So literally today, I was just thinking of ways to like make it engaging, like making him a Bitmoji classroom with putting like African American figures in, like make kids want to learn about it, make them invested in it.
I think a thing I do in my classroom, which I think is really important, is the start of the day. Especially at the beginning of the school year, it's a lot of crying and early childhood and stuff like that. And one thing I was doing was playing calming music, but it being from a global perspective. I would say right before Rona hit, I was doing a lot of like reggae, like dub reggae. And it's a really mellow sound, but it hits with my Caribbean students because that's something they're hearing at home. It really helps them to feel connected and having those resources. And it's just like we're saying, reading the room. What do your kids like? I also like to play a lot of salsa and merengue, all that for my Harlem babies. And I have videos where they're in there spinning each other around. And these are 3 and 4 year olds. We're like, oh, what can they do? No, they know a lot. Like, as some of my professors are in here from TC, but they have this, what is, oh my God, it's blowing me. I can't think of the word. When they have the knowledge before getting into the classroom. If anyone knows the term, please drop it in the comments. And there's a question right here. It says, do you guys get flexibility on curriculum topics? I could see some pushback from parents and higher ups if you touch on certain topics. At my school, we're pretty flexible as far as the curriculum, but I know that you, Kalia, and possibly Jade and also Samantha might not have that flexibility at a charter school. What are some ways that you can still add your Blackness into the curriculum?
Right. So that's actually something that I just spoke with my principal about today. So I would say, yes, that you have autonomy in a charter school, but at the same time, it is a very like structured curriculum. So I think, you know, you having to speak to your leadership team about maybe, hey, like, is there a way? It may not have to be something like so planned out, like a full lesson plan about it, but just putting little snippets of it within your curriculum, which I feel is fine. But if it was something that you wanted to be more structured and have more course of action about, you would definitely need to consult with your leadership team about it because of pushback and any, you know, hesitations that you may get from parents. So that's why I say, you know, incorporating it with little wiggle breaks or free time that you have within the day, unless it is specifically embedded in your curriculum.
And I think a good thing to add is when you're using word problems, use different names.
Yeah,
you know,
switch it up. Put little black characters instead of the, exactly, put all of that.
And like this book right here, which I love, it goes through, and I read this during Women's History Month with my kids. Okay. And so these are all, you know, we have in here, hold on, let me show you some people. You know, Shirley Chisholm.
Yes.
And a cool thing I always say to my kids, she lived in Harlem. Like, I tell them that this is a Black woman from Harlem. They're like, what? She lived in Harlem? I'm like, yes, she lived. And she also danced in Harlem. Like, I do stuff like that so they can feel themselves connected to the curriculum. And there's a lot of ways. It's just a matter of being creative, having fun, doing your own research, because there are so many books that have to do with math that have Black characters in it, that have it could be an African-based sort of learning concept on there. And before I switch over to Alana, our last person, do you have any lasting words you want to say to the teachers that are on here, to the parents?
I would just say, if I had to say a couple of things, is do your research about the schools that you're sending your children to, about the schools that you plan to work at, and make sure that it is representative of who you are and things that you believe in. Because if you are not agreeing with different policies or the same beliefs, it will be a very difficult experience for you.